My name's Adele Onyango and welcome to another episode of Legally Clueless. No, seriously, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Hey you, welcome to episode 88 of Legally Clueless. I'm super excited that you're listening to this podcast. I really do appreciate it. And if you want to join our online fam, we are on Instagram at Legally Clueless Podcast, and on Twitter, if you're going to chit chat, just use the hashtag Legally Clueless. So first and foremost, I'm so ready to move from this apartment block. Today has just been hectic. Like last episode, it was the mosque making noise and the kids. This time around, one of my neighbors keeps turning their water pump on and off in 10-minute intervals, which makes it so hard for me to record. I'm just like, okay, either you turn it on and let it pump until you're satisfied, then turn it off, then I can start recording. But this on-off thing is just, what are you doing? So I stomped outside just like, hey, whose water pump is that? But anyway, I'm calmer now because I think they are behaving. Well, coming up in this episode is a story on 100 African stories that I think, unfortunately, quite a few people can relate with. Not only in terms of this year, because COVID just has crazy ripple effects that include unemployment, but this has been a problem, at least for Kenya. It's been a problem for a long time.
I am an unemployed Kenyan graduate. I had passed quite well because I had gotten an A-. I remember procuring an Instafundi to do my dress for my graduation. It was the situation for what you order versus what you get. But that was a hard day because I was so used to being top of the class. Everyone is like, now you will get a job. Now that you have graduated, now you will get a job. Fast forward to March 2020, COVID-19 hits Kenya and I was deemed non-essential. March, April, my depression was kind of at bay because the whole world has shut down. So we are all the same. It feels like what I need now is to find a job. It's such a big deal that I have put my happiness on hold because I can't wait to get a job to be happy. I thought that the world owed it to me to get the job.
So that's a story by Mercy, and you will be hearing the full story a little later in this episode. I've actually just come back into the office because my neighbor and this water pump, oh my God. I just had to go and knock on their door again and be like, come on, I asked you for 20 minutes. It's been 5 minutes. Why would you turn it on again and do this on-off thing? Anyway, I am now calm. How was your week? I hope much better than my Sunday is panning out to be. On my end, I genuinely have had such an amazing week in terms of my spirit and where I am on a personal level. It's not that anything grand happened. I'm just at a really good space. And two main things have made me very happy this week. One is I finally said no and stood by my no in a professional stroke business space. So I said no to a potential client whose terms of engagement didn't match mine. A couple of months ago, that would have scared me to do because maybe not months ago, maybe towards the end of last year into January this year, I always thought that if somebody approaches you, an organization or a business or whatever, approaches me to do a partnership with me, that they were doing me a favor. It took me a very long time to realize that I'm bringing value to the table, and also as a business and as an individual, I have my terms of engagement that need to be met before I can do a good job. And if those are not met, then it's okay to walk away. So I finally did that this week, and it feels really great to be able to be so clear in my vision, to know what's not for me and to walk away from it. Second thing is, I'm so infatuated with being alive in the moment and loving my body and exploring my sexual identity. Oh my God, Adele 10 or even 5 years ago didn't think that this was possible. I had, I think, given up on ever loving my body again. And to get to a point where I can do that, where I'm like, again, exploring my sexual identity, exploring my body. It's just such a beautiful space. It's a space that, as a survivor of sexual trauma, I never ever thought I would ever get to. So that is like really fueling me. Even like when shit happens, like you have shitty days, like today with this crazy neighbor. The joy that I have because of where I'm at in that regard just overshadows any nonsense that could be thrown my way, because nobody else can understand it the way I can, how much darkness I've had to battle to get to this point. In fact, I'd actually recorded a video. Remember in the other episodes I told you that I've started getting into like creating video content as well, and I have recorded a video where I talk about self-care and I talk about doing things that are healthy for my mind, body, spirit, and soul. So if self-doubt doesn't win, I might just share that video this week. It's edited and everything, but I'm just like, I don't like my hair. I don't like my eyebrows. No, seriously, like, when the self-doubt creeps in, as far as video is concerned, I pick at such stupid things to kind of justify not putting out that video eventually. But fingers crossed that I do. On to the song of the week. I really love this song. I love, the music video. You have to check out the music video. It's basically a work of art. That's what I think. And the artist's name is Victoria Monet. I think that's how you pronounce her name. And the name of the song is Moment. Oh my word. It's such a beautiful song. I really love songs that sound like the motion of putting shea butter on your melanin skin. Does that make sense? Oh my God, Adele, what is that? No, but seriously, like, have you ever like rubbed shea butter onto your skin, and in that moment it's such I think in it's actually a thing actually in therapy where it's like a mindful exercise. It's called a mindful exercise. There's a term for it, and I know this because we talked about it while designing the Safe 247 curriculum. There's some activities that force you to really confront your body, and for me it's like rubbing shea butter or like Minor Lady body butter. That's the brand that I use. When I'm rubbing it on my skin, it's just like, yes. So there's songs that I love that sound like what that motion would sound like if it had a sound. Please, I know that sounds so strange. Just check out the song. I'll put a link to it in the description of this episode. I really want us to get to 100 African stories because I think this is a story that quite a few people can identify with. It's something many are trying to navigate, especially during this pandemic that has a ripple effect of pay cuts and job losses. And the story is by Mercy, who is an unemployed Kenyan graduate. 100 African stories on Legally Clueless. Stories from Africa.
So my name is Mercy. I am from Thika, Kenya. I wasn't born there, but I was raised there for the better part of my life. I am in the season of my life where I am an unemployed Kenyan graduate. I want to start by talking a little bit about how that came to be. Growing up or coming to be, I have always been the above average student, the one that kind of passed, was not being beaten by my teachers in primary school. And I proceeded to high school where I also did quite well. I remember the year 2015 when I was receiving my KCSE results. I don't think my parents really thought that I would pass well. My dad actually had asked my sister for my index number because he did not think that I would give it willingly because, maybe he also expected that I wouldn't pass well. They didn't think I was reading hard. Even my mom, just a few minutes before I received the text, she was taking me for a walk. She was taking me for a walk to tell me, or to help calm my nerves and tell me, even when the results vile zitakuja, if you get a C, it will be okay. If you get a B, it will be all right. But as we were taking the walk, as we were like just a few meters away from the gate, actually, my dad called us back, and he informed us that the text had come in from his side, because me, I had not sent it, and I had actually passed. And I had passed in Kenyan system. I had passed quite well, because I had gotten 76 points. That's an A minus. And suddenly the opportunities looked quite promising. I could have now become a doctor, an engineer, architect. The possibilities were endless. And I remember my dad usually will sit me down after every stage. So after primary, he had told me, oh, now you have done this, now you're getting into high school, and then now you're getting, so now it was time for uni. So he sat me down and he told me, now you can do pharmacy. Now you can do medicine. So even while he was, everyone was drawing me all this, possibilities. I could be a lawyer, be a doctor, a nurse, a pharmacist. I was like, okay, yeah, but I want to be a journalist. But at that particular time, it kind of looked like if I did a journalism course, it would kind of water down all the effort that I had done. So journalism is considered a talent, so not something that you can pursue. So fortunately or unfortunately, I got to enter college, or I was admitted to university under the JAB program. So the JAB program in the country is the government sponsored program. I dismissed doing the pharmacy and the medicine, and I decided to take the route of a kind of not complicated course, but also a course that would still cause me to seem as smart. And that course was in finance. So finance is a lot of mathematics. In high school or in primary school, I was actually really poor in mathematics. I was the humanities person, the languages person. And here I was in college doing a mathematics course. Why? Because I had passed quite well in KCSE. It was better than doing medicine. So got in. First year was good. Second year, generally speaking, our university was quite interesting, besides the academics, socially, living it up. It was really nice. But I really struggled academically. I remember from, first year was okay. First year is, communication skills, as in the units that we're taught in school are communication skills, HIV and AIDS, etc., etc. So it wasn't that hard for me. Second year was also really good. The units in math were fewer than the units in theory. So that year, the math units made absolutely no sense to me. I was really trying, actually. I would attend class, I would do my assignments, and I would copy the notes, but I was not getting it. I know that the extra effort in going to the library, go and, try and read some more was, something that I could have done. But how do you do that when you don't like something? So even, going to the library to just, sit down and learning corporate finance was really kind of hard for me. I remember feeling constantly humbled just days before the exam, when everyone is running around extremely pumped up. People know sijui that topic, this topic, ati, do you know about this topic? Everyone knows. You're there okay, I know I've crammed, but post this exam, I don't think I will even remember what I have learned. So in essence, we can say that I might have turned out to be one of those half-baked Kenyan graduates, because honestly speaking, I cannot tell you what we learned in theory. I feel like this kind of took a toll on my self-esteem, because when you come from a place of really being extremely smart, you've been getting A's, you've been passing kinda, then now you're not passing. So what do you do with that? Anyway, so I couldn't wait to finish university so that I could finish and just get over and done with this course. And I remember the last year of university as being my best year. I actually put the most effort in that year. It kind of salvaged my grades, and I was really happy about that. I also really partied in fourth year. Me and my friends were really excited or looking forward to finishing university, and we were feeling like this is the last opportunity to do everything that we need to do that is childish in quotes before we now get into the real world. So 4.2, that is for their second semester, came between January and April, and in April I stepped out of uni. So I remember when I stepped out of uni, I really had lost my mojo. There was just something that was missing. In uni, I had tried to pursue the opportunities of getting my legs into the journalism field. So I had come across a couple of gigs that required me to, do 1, 2, 3 things that is in like a good gig. I had come across a good gig and had been paid in exposure. So coming out of uni, I knew that this is what I needed to do for the rest of my life. Lakini, where was I going to start? So came out of uni, I'm feeling kind of, I know what I want to do, but I've lost my mojo. Wondering if I should now start a new course altogether, or if I should just continue with this thing. And I remember my dad once again told me that I needed to hit the ground running. He told me that you're not supposed to just chill somewhere. Now you're chilling. Now you're finished uni, chill. So he started to look for a job for me or on my behalf, trying to get his network to find me a job. And I remember telling him that he needed to pause for a bit, because first I have come from doing this course that I do not like, and they did not even understand why I did not like it. I need to first think. So what I did was, the first month after I finished uni, I remember going to UNISERV. So UNISERV is an organization that helps people study abroad. My thinking then was that I wanted to start another degree. I did not want it to be in the country, because I felt like the country in uni, going through uni in Kenya is nice, but academically speaking, it's not contentful. It's games, ni jokes. So I was now going to ask them if I could, find a scholarship. And so I went in, I talked to someone, and after I talked to them, they told me that now you can't find a scholarship. The only scholarship you can find is they pay half the school fees, and then you pay half the school fees. So I was kind of disappointed. And I remember after I left the offices, I went to the toilet and I cried. Then I went home and then I sat down and told my dad, so this is what I have done. So all this is in, trying to find my oomph back. I need to get to the next thing now to do what I really want to do. And I sat him down and I told him all this. And then my dad told me, now you need to give me 2 years. Because I can't just raise the school fees right now. I was like, okay, when I did the mathematics, I decided that in 2 years, if I was to go and study abroad, try and do a master's, not a whole degree. On the side, I began to do a course, a language in Chinese. And the reason why I did that was to feel like I was doing something out of the box. I was also helping to manage my sister's business at that time, but I wasn't applying for any jobs. And my dad kept telling me, you need to apply. Okay, well, if he asked me to send a CV, I'd send a CV, but I wasn't really putting an effort in trying to get the job. As I was going through the next couple of months, I kind of was feeling, okay, but what will I do now? Okay, I was kind of getting stressed out. I wasn't sure how everything was going to play out. And then fortunately for my friends, they both got jobs. Now I kind of felt the pressure. I remember during that time, I began to butt heads with my family because I was the pressure was kind of building up. I did not want to venture into the career that I had done. I wanted a job, but I also did not want the accounting job, and I did not even know how I would get into the field that I wanted to get into, but I knew I wanted to leave the house. I remember one time they all went to Shags and they left me in the house alone. I had really secluded myself from them, and we were really fighting. Me and my sister were even fighting physically. I remember during one of the altercations that we had, my mom happened to tell me that kama unaona umekuwa mkubwa sana, you should go and get married. I felt really bad because I felt like she did not get it. I felt I didn't feel support from her during that time. And in August, Kenya was going through a census in August. I fortunately got the opportunity to work as an enumerator. So how I even got that job was I wasn't in the list of people who were texted to, come and start the training for the job. I showed up in the primary school where the training was supposed to happen, and the enumerator job was just a week. But after that week, so I'm talking from August onwards, it's like a cloud just came over me, and I became a completely different person. I was doing the bare minimum, and the bare minimum was taking a shower, and I would spend a lot of time in my bedroom because I was, not talking to my parents, not talking to my sister, and they would not see me for days. When I wake up, they've gone to work. And then, I'll do my thing. I'll see my nephew here and there. I'll spend the day with him, kinda talk with the DM. In the evening, get into my room. And I'd really get tired. I remember I'd sleep and then I'd wake up tired. I'd even sleep kind of late. And when I slept, sometimes I would have very bad dreams. The dreams where you feel like someone is like you can't wake up. I think it's called sleep paralysis. It's like something is pulling you. You're trying to wake up. You're trying to fight your way out of the dream, but you can't. And I remember even during that time, my friends were trying to connect with me, and I would constantly tell everyone that tried to call me, hi, how you doing? How can we link up? And I tell them I'm trying to get my shit together. I'll tell you when I get my shit together. So at this point, I am now trying to apply for the accounting jobs because I'm feeling now what else can I do? I need to maybe try and, apply for this accounting jobs. And then maybe when it comes, at least I can have some money and then, try and find my way. During the next couple of weeks, as my dad continued to send me job openings, the conversation consistently when I had the opportunity to talk to him was, oh, did you apply anything new? Did you apply anything new? Did you apply anything new? And it kind of also started to put a pressure on me because now it felt like, okay, now you need me to get a job, right? My dad and my mom, they sat me down. Now I had lost weight. My hair was fucked up. I was in the pits. And my mom and dad sat me down, and how my dad was trying to encourage me was by telling me his list of networks. So he was telling me, even I've not talked to this guy. I've not talked to Baba Nani who works where. My mom was like, you don't worry. Suddenly she was kind of getting it. So don't worry, whatever, we will find a job. And I remember on that particular day, they sat me down. They took me out to dinner. And that was quite surprising because I had not been leaving the house. Sometimes when depression creeps up on you, you kind of forget the outside. And yes, we live in a place where there's a compound, but I'd go like 3 days without leaving my bedroom. You've not left the door. So we came back, still the same thing. People trying to call me, how you doing? I'm okay, but I need to get my shit together. You will talk when I get my shit together. And my results came in from uni, and I was scheduled to graduate in December. So I remember by the time I graduated, I had lost weight to the 40, 47, 48 kgs. And I'm usually, okay, well, not that I'm that big, but I'm usually like nachezeanga 52, 53, 54. I'm usually around 50s. So I remember procuring an Instafundi to do my dress for my graduation. And it was the situation for what you order versus what you get. When you're preparing for your graduation, your dress is like the last thing you see. I received the dress, I'm going home. I get home, my mom is excited. She's like, okay, let's see the dress. And then I put the dress on and it does not fit. It is absolutely tight. My mom told me, guys, sasa si hiyo ni ya kwenda disco. And obviously I couldn't wear the dress, tried to call her. Anyway, that is another story. I remember on the material day for the graduation, I obviously had bought another dress. I was extremely happy, but also extremely sad. Extremely sad because I had failed. My friends, I had failed. Everyone in my circle had done really well, which is really nice. But that was a hard day because I was so used to being top of the class after, like, when all is said and done. I remember before, when I got my results earlier on, I was really scared of sending them to my parents. When I say I'd failed, I'd gotten a second class lower. Well, I'd sent my parents the results, and my mom was actually quite positive about it. So I know the pressure was just on me. My mom was like, hey, as long as you're graduating, I think in the previous years, some of her friends' children had not graduated. She could not imagine what would happen if I did not graduate. So she was just glad I was graduating. My dad, he was like, okay. But the following day, I remember he told me, where? Okay, well, I'll say it in Kikuyu, then translate. He said, we haudone kawega, which means you, it's okay, but you did not do too well. So anyway, my parents threw me a bashment. They threw me a good party for my graduation. They were actually happy. And so it kind of felt better that, at least I graduated. It was still a good day to have graduated. So I graduated in December. So everyone is like, now you will get a job. Now that you have graduated, now that you have the paper, now you will get a job. So I remember telling myself, okay, fine. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to try this finance thing, and then I'm going to do the gigs on the side. Like maybe if I will, find something else to do on the side. I remember I'm usually a person who really believes in new beginnings. So the new year is just, for a lot of people, as you keep growing, you just realize it's just another day. It's like the next day after the 31st. But for me, it's actually a big deal. It's like I'm renewed in January, or so I thought. So I got an internship in a government office in January. And I remember I wanted to get to work. I knew I needed to just get it. My goal was to go there and just learn everything, like, from start, like how you learn ABCD, you learn the nitty gritty. This is what I need to do. So I needed to be the best. Luckily for me, I found a very good group of people in the office. They were all old. So my office bestie was like in his 40s and 50s because, government offices, everyone is quite old. I thought that I was doing well, but in essence, what I was is what they call a high functioning depressed person. That is someone who is, working, doing things, raising children. Well, I'm not raising children, but doing 1, 2, 3 things, but they're still not okay. And I did not eat. I lost even more weight. I'd take my work clothes every other day to the tailor for them to be fixed. But I was doing well. I remember when I would go to work, I'd concentrate, I'd learn, I'd work well with my colleagues. But when I went home, I'd just shut down. And how I know now that maybe even then I wasn't okay was because my bedroom was untidy. I wasn't putting back my clothes. I was just, waking up, doing what I needed to do, going to work early in the morning because, commuting in Kenya needs you to go early because of the traffic jam. Living on the other side of Thika Road. Thika Road is the superhighway that connects Thika to Nairobi. You need to wake up early so that you beat traffic. So that was, the routine, which was okay. Fast forward to March 2020, COVID-19 hits Kenya and I was deemed non-essential. So unfortunately for me, I had to go home because I wasn't an essential worker. March, April, my depression was kind of at bay because the whole world has shut down. So we are all the same. There's no pressure to, work. I'm feeling everyone is home, my parents, my sister, my friends, everyone is just at a standstill. I remember during that period of time, I watched a lot of shows that I have not watched. I watched Prison Break, I watched Power, I watched what else did I watch? I tried to watch Game of Thrones, didn't work. I was at a good place. I was not overthinking it. I was sending my job applications. At least now, those 3 months I'd really gotten to work and I'd actually learned a lot. But the jobs and the interviews were still not coming. So here we are. My dad is now back at it again. He's like, okay, send the CV here, send the CV there. And my dad is really tamarking together with me. Sometimes I take the phone and call my dad and I tell him, listen, I'll get the job. Don't worry. I know I'm in my feelings. I'm also, the pressure is also high on my side, but I always remember to also encourage my dad because he's in this with me. So no interviews are coming through. I started to apply for jobs that were not in accounting. And ironically, those were the ones that I'd get an email back or a regret or, a procedure to the next stage. And I liked those jobs because they did not involve me sending out my CV, because my CV in accounting, it's there, but it makes me sad because it's not A1. I like the jobs where there's like biometric tests. So biometrics test is like the test for you do 12 games and then they tell you what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are, and then they match you to, if they tell you you match the job, or the ones that give you assessment tests, they give you situational questions. Those are the ones that I ace. I feel like when I show my CV, I kind of get disqualified quickly because I did not do well. And then, with accounting, you also need professional papers. So I started applying for those kind of jobs. And quite recently, actually, I applied for this job and I went to the first stage and the second stage and the third stage. And now I was getting excited. I even told my dad, I told my sister, everyone was like cheering me on. The third stage to getting into the fourth stage, I unfortunately got a regret. And I felt so bad because I had not applied for an accounting job for a month. And with this kind of applications, they take quite some time because, the first stage, then they do the assessment, you go to the second, the third, the fourth, and the fifth. So I remember seeing that regret in the morning and I took a screenshot and send it out to the groups. That is, the groups is my family group that has my parents and my sister, not the groups, a group and my best friend. So I sent it to my best friend and then I just moaned. I moaned that day. I cried because first of all, I had really seen it happening with that job or that application, and because I had not applied for accounting jobs for quite some time, and I could not imagine going back to send my CV to these applications, which I knew I needed to. So I remember I cried because even through this year, I'd really tried to keep a positive mind. So I'd even, tried to manifest. Mind you, all along, I've put everything else on hold. I've put social interactions. Well, I'm interacting with people, but I am not really interacting with people because it feels like what I need now is to find a job. I sat down and I thought about it and I was like, why is it such a big deal? It's such a big deal that I have put my happiness on hold because I can't wait to get a job to be happy. I remember feeling that even as I was getting into this season of my life in Campo, I remember we were partying really hard during that last semester because we knew we were getting into the pits. We were like, we need to drink up, we need to go out, we need to see each other consistently in the night because we will not be able to do this in a while. And that was the mindset. So I sat down after getting that regret, and I felt like I had really put my life on pause to first get a job or get my shit together. I cried and I prayed and I told God, listen, I'm tired. I'm tired of telling myself, oh, in July, this is happening. I need to, send out my applications. July comes, passes. I'm like, okay, September. September is definitely September feels like a good month to get a job. But then the job doesn't come. So I told God, listen, I'm tired and this is what I need. I told him what I needed. I wrote it down and I told him, now onwards, that's up to you now. As in, I'm really not going to overthink this and I need to start calling people. I need to start talking to people. I need to start connecting with people because in 2019 or beginning of 2020, I'd really shut people out. Actually, I'd really not. I was only talking. No, I still have, but I'm beginning not to. I was only talking to my best friend who doesn't even know that it's this bad. I mean, sometimes we'll video call and I'll cry, but some weeks are bad, some weeks are good. And during the next couple of weeks, I was doing quite well because I started to call people, and majorly what I started doing was asking everyone that I got to reconnect with was I asked them, how is your mental health, or how are you doing emotionally, psychologically, physically? So I will always ask my friends that because I realized that imagine if you're going through this. How many people are going through this outside there who also have not talked to anyone about it? So fast forward to a couple of weeks later, my uncle connected me with one of his networks, and he arranged an interview for me, an accounting interview. So there I was. We had spoken with the person that was going to interview me. We had spoken for 1-2 days before the interview as he was trying to get to know my qualifications, my whatever. So I walked into the office and I waited for him. So we sat down in the interview. He asked me, okay, so I'm trying to find out what your qualifications are. So is this finance? So people don't know the difference between financing and accounting. A finance person is someone that looks for money or tells you where to invest. An accounting person is someone that helps you account for your money. So this guy asks me, okay, so tell me, what is a trial balance? And I stutter because I do not know. So I tell him, so a trial balance is an accounting statement that does this. It's a, collection of whatever, which I'm not sure about. And he's like, okay. Then he asks me a couple of questions. I can see the disappointment. And that is what I hate. Because you can see someone is not like convinced. Because even you're not convinced. I'm not like confident. We finish up, and since he had talked to me before, he was like, okay, let's try and get to know each other. Who are you? Tell me your story. And I just, when we started there, and I came back and told my sister this story, but I did not tell her that I cried in front of that guy. And now I wasn't sure, why am I crying? Am I still like at a bad place mentally? Can't I just get a hold of myself? It's like I like to cry. So I cried. And the reason why I cried is because I was explaining to him that I felt bad, that I did not feel like I was bringing my best because I did not even like it. So luckily he understood, because he has a daughter who went through the same situation as me, who was courageous enough to quit what she was doing to pursue something else while she was still in college. So he was like, okay, I understand. So that took me aback, because I was wondering, okay, so why am I crying? Is it because I'm not happy? Am I still not comfortable? Am I telling myself that I am comfortable with this thing, but I am not comfortable? Because you remember, the aim is to try and give this thing my best shot as I try to venture out into other things. So I wasn't sure if that is why am I crying? Why can't I just stop crying? So I'm wondering if it's that, or if I'm still, kind of depressed. So anyway, so that ends. I go home. My dad calls me. He's like, okay, how did it go? I'm like, okay, Dad. So he said that my qualifications and what he was looking for were not, so he was not going to hire me, in short. But it was a good network. We had the conversation, we talked. So recently I got my footing again, because after that interview, I kind of got disoriented, because I wasn't sure. Okay, my heart really doesn't want this gig for accounting, but I really need to do it for sustenance. And I was like, okay, let me remind myself why I'm doing this. So I'm doing this because I need to try it as I try to venture out into another thing. So Adele, that is where I'm at right now. So I'm preparing for an exam. I actually have an exam in 3 weeks for, still the professional courses. So I decided to go on, because you need them to kind of scale up. You need them to continue. Okay, it's a requirement. So I have an exam in 3 weeks. The thing is, it's really easy to put yourself in that positive headspace for, no social media, no comparison. But I think the secret is to consistently remind yourself to be in that headspace, because I am actually trying to be in that headspace over the last couple of months. I listen to podcasts, I write, I pray. It gets better, actually. It's getting better. I am not the person, or it's not the situation it was in 2019. It's actually gotten so much better. I thought that the world owed it to me to get the job, because I remember even I kept negotiating with God. I'm like, God, listen, I've done this, I'm this way, why can't I just get a job? And then over the years, having seen my dad connect people to jobs, you think that when it comes to your turn, you're like, so see, now my dad will just call Sijui who, and then on the next call I'll just be in an office or doing my thing, and then it comes, and then it's not happening, and it's not happening.
Catch more African stories in the next episode of Legally Clueless. I'm just so thankful to Mercy for reaching out, sending her story demo, and wanting to share this story on this podcast, because it's her allowing us into such a vulnerable space that she's in currently. So it's not even something that she experienced years ago and she has gotten to a point that she can talk about it. It's her letting us in as something is happening. So I really do appreciate that. And you've heard her areas of interest, from finance to journalism. Maybe you work in an organization. I know not many people are hiring, but maybe you work in an organization that could offer an opportunity for her, or you have some leads in those two areas. You can just send a message to the Legally Clueless hotline number, and I'll send that information over to Mercy. And her story highlights quite a lot, but I think two things that I'd love to touch on is, one, this issue of unemployment and having so many graduates and not enough jobs. In Kenya, it's been an issue for years. And one sad bit is that lie that we enforce in young people from primary school to high school to university, that keep getting A's, pass with flying colors, and that automatically guarantees you a job, which it just doesn't. It doesn't in this country because not much has been done to figure out the unemployment situation. And it's also a lie because there's just no guarantee. Those two things, passing and getting a job, it's not guaranteed. The other lie that I have had to call myself out on after a friend called me out on it is the lie that when you work hard, you are entitled to success or entitled to a yes. So I remember having a phone call with a very close friend of mine after I had pitched an idea to a potential commercial partner, and I'd put in my heart, sweat, and soul into that pitch. I really had given it my all. I'd worked so hard on it. So I was on this phone call telling my friend, yes, I did this. And I worked so hard. Aki, they must give me this job. And he was just like, they really have no obligation to give you this job because you worked hard. That entitlement, you need to nip it in the bud. Yes, give all your pitches and all your work 100%, but don't for one moment think that it entitles you to success or getting a yes when it comes to pitching. It seems like such an obvious thing to know, but before that phone call and before he told me this, I really was walking around with this entitlement that, hey, may I give this thing my 100 so I know for sure I have to reap the returns of my hard work. It's not always the case. It's not always guaranteed. So yeah, I really connected with Mercy's story. In fact, I think I just recorded it like a week ago and just last week actually. And I was like, nope, this story has got to go out ASAP. So just like Mercy, if you want to share your story as well, all you have to do is record a 1-minute story demo, basically just telling me a bit about the story that you want to share, and send that to the Legally Clueless hotline number, which is in the description of this episode. But let me just tell it to you now. Podcast number +254 768 628 790. So record the story demo on your WhatsApp audio note and then just send it via WhatsApp. If you're wondering who is screaming in the background, it is the neighborhood kids. I cannot catch a break today, man, but it's okay. So also on the podcast number, if you connect with an episode, maybe something I said or the story that was in the episode, and you want to share your feelings on it, you can also record a voice message and send that to me.
I'm so happy I met this podcast. Yani, I listened to all of them, all the episodes. I hope every day when you wake up you feel good because man, the stories that you find and then you're like, there are other people who go through the same things as we go through. And I'm so happy I met this podcast. And I wish you the best. And I pray for you that you'll have the strength to wake up every day and continue doing whatever you're doing.
That is such a sweet message. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate you sending good energy my way, because obviously there are days where I'm very motivated to do my best when it comes to the podcast, to record as many stories as possible, to be as vulnerable as I can be with you. But then there are days where it's more of a struggle to do that than others. So I appreciate the good energy being sent my way. And I was going through the messages on the Legally Clueless hotline number, and it's so amazing to receive messages not only from people in Kenya, but I found messages from people in Rwanda, Tanzania, Nigeria, and I was just like, oh my God, this is so sweet of you to listen to the podcast and then to send these messages. I truly do appreciate it. But back to Kenya, if you are based here, you can also catch this podcast on Trace Radio. Just go to traceradio.co.ke. There's a list of all the frequencies that Trace is on locally. And you can also on that website stream Trace. And Legally Clueless plays there every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 a.m. and at 8 p.m. as well. That's it for this episode of Legally Clueless. You can share this podcast with your friends. You can keep it for yourself. I'm not judging. Just make sure you're here next week for the next episode.